All right, welcome to another episode of the randInt podcast. Hooray! Well, you can do the byline. We're going with the bylines now.
The byline is the podcast that explores how the random affects the everyday.
Well, okay, here's two others. The other one that we chose, or I thought up, was like randInt, the podcast where two friends discuss random and unusual things that impact the everyday, or a podcast where we explore life through a bunch of random topics. Which one do you like best? Leave us a message and subscribe and all that stuff.
And an audio message.
Yes, still no one audio messages. What is wrong with people? Although that being said, so can I just say before we get too carried away on it, we had someone actually think it was a weekly podcast and go, hey, I was really disappointed that there wasn't an episode last Monday. And I was like, oh my God, do we have a fan?
That's it. We have an expecting listener.
Yeah, that I'd never expected to actually happen anytime soon. But anyway, since we are on the clock, the timer is also already at 9 minutes, and we have to go play Dota after this, and people are already messaging. We'll go through, this is a mini-sode, so it'll be 10-minute little segments. So we'll begin with how are you, even though we've kind of spent the last sort of 45 minutes in the most interrupted catch-up ever. Why did you go first? How are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm still enjoying Perth life, but my most recent toy that I've been playing with has been the Tesla Model 3.
Correct. Which is the most spontaneous car purchase.
Well, look,
it took me like 10 minutes to convince you?
Yeah, pretty much. It's because I did the numbers and it made sense. And really from a safety perspective, as somebody living in the country, driving on country roads all the time, I need a safe car to look after me while I'm here.
Yeah. And who literally after getting it was like, damn, maybe I should have gotten the performance. Damn, do I unlock that?
Yeah, well, the really annoying thing about Tesla is like you buy the car and then on the app, it comes up with, would you like to pay $3,000 to make your car go even faster? I'm like, must resist the urge.
On that note, so today when I was going into work, right? So driving down the freeway, I was doing the auto lane change and everything else. But today I noticed, even though it's not enabled in Australia, it came off the freeway as meant to normally disengage, right? Mm-hmm. And it was at Blackburn Road, right? Mm-hmm. So going away from the city. So in Melbourne, this will make sense. As you come off, the lane splits into two with like a traffic island in the middle, and then there's a red light. So it actually went off the freeway, then indicated onto the right lane off the freeway, and had a red light where there is no mark, right? There is no traffic line, but it drew an imaginary red light where you'd have to stop to do a head check before you merged in.
Nice.
So I think like little vision-based things have been upgraded in the neural net. That isn't, because there hasn't been a really big update in a while, but it was doing that today. So I was like, damn, okay.
Well, I was just even surprised because I didn't get the full self-driving kit for now because I'm waiting for the subscription model, and also because I'll probably only have the car for a year or so. So I figured there's no point getting the extra 10K. But even just without that, the auto steer still works fine. Like driving around the streets of Bunbury, I'm like, I feel like a pleb. Before I used to have to turn the steering wheel.
How does it compare to your parents' Mac? Because your parents' Mac had something, right?
Yeah, but it was not very, it did a bit on freeways, okay, but not on city street, not on regular streets.
Okay. And have you found it in Bunbury, just in town?
Yeah, pretty good. On the straight roads, fine. On bendy roads, mostly okay. You can definitely tell the little areas in the road where it's going to fail. And so then you sort of do have to pick up and take over again. But I mean, again, this is Bunbury, everything's 5 minutes away. But for the freeway driving, which I'm going to try tomorrow, looking forward to, should be good. But I've also been looking into, interestingly, the next thing is Tesla camping.
You need a Cybertruck for that.
Well, not really, because I remember looking into this before when I was heading over to the US. I was like, everybody in San Francisco seems to be homeless. Why can't I join them in a Tesla? And there are mattresses. Well, yeah, this is the thing. There's a mattress. There's a bunch of companies that make mattresses specifically for when you fold down the back seats, it turns it into
Inflates
sort of
down
about a
into the footwell.
double sized bed. And there's camp mode, which keeps the car nice and comfy overnight. And I actually looked up some RV sites around here, and there's some which are basically people have set up their own farm property as a little RV site. So it's not like the big RV sites with, a whole bunch of RVs everywhere, but it's just one spot. There's a power cable, and it's just got like an awesome view over a river or something like that. So yeah, and it's like $50 for a night. So I thought I might actually try that out coming up.
What, you just get to use their bathroom or something?
No, I think I'll probably just have to find a cafe nearby. And
Minor details.
She'll be all right. I figured for a night, could be fun. Go chill out.
Well, the other thing will be
with a big battery.
especially because you've got the Model 3, it's like, and you're out in Bunbury, like you'll actually see the stars.
Well, this is the thing, yeah. Looking forward to trying out the glass roof. And that's the next to-do item for me in terms of trips. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. I will update you as soon as that's been done.
Oh, yeah. Send photos.
And there will be.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What have you been up to?
Well, it was meant to be, actually the week just gone, I was meant to have a few days off for study leave to learn Python. So I did not get any of that done. Mainly not because I didn't want to. It's just there was like just sleeping in and having a rest trumped all motivation. So I was getting to the point where I loaded up all the tutorials and whatnot. And actually the thing that I want to do, which is automate this really boring email task. It begins at the beginning of the month, but it's all been delayed because of the latest COVID outbreak. So it only came like a couple of days ago. So I couldn't have actually done it until now. But it's been like 2 years of not having a really sustained break. So it's getting to me now. So I just spent the 3 days just sleeping in. And just like this weekend, I've got a bit of work. And from next week, I'll have like 6 days off in a row. So I think I'll take a day off just to reset back in and then spend I'll spend the same amount of time. I'll just do it next week just because I think just recharging was more the priority this time. I opened the tutorials, but I was just like, I'm not paying any attention. There's just no point right now doing this. So I should just do.
It's definitely like learning anything. It's, deep work. It's best done when fresh and keen kind of thing, not when you're half dead.
Yeah, I wasn't half dead. Like it was all slept in, but it was just like, when you sleep in and you have nothing to do, you can afford to relax. And I was just like, well, this is new. I should, normally it takes me a little while. Like it normally takes me like a week or two during a holiday to kind of relax. But I think it's been so long that body and mind are just like, okay, let's just relax now. We're okay. We don't need the 2 weeks. Let's just go to relax mode straight away. So that's been good. I am just hoping somehow Melbourne's meant to come out of lockdown next Thursday. The numbers do not support this at the moment. But if it does, I'll take my Tuesday to Thursday, I'll do the Python stuff, which was the 3 days that I was meant to start it this last week, and then go away down Great Ocean Road or something Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and to be outside the 5K bubble. It's like I feel like a bit of a Karen, but it has now been over 6 months of this 5K boundary, and considering there's a river in there's only a few routes you can go unless you want to go run around in the city. So it'd just be nice. And I just want to go for a hike. It's not even like a run thing. It's just, I actually like climbing up slight inclines over time, right? Like it sounds like.
I don't understand the point in that.
Yeah,
just like going up the incline so much faster. Just go straight up.
Yeah, but it's like you're camping with a view. It's like climbing it to get to the view. But yes, you could equally fly drone. But yeah, so I'm just hoping that I get some sense of a break at some point. But at the moment, I'll take anything that I've been given, which includes just having to do nothing, and not focus on work for a little bit and not have to get up and go to the 9 to 5. Which, yeah, I've noticed that the transition to relax mode has been a lot faster, but I think that's just more a function of normally I'd take like a week off or something every 3 months. It's just been 2 years. So like it's just now body and mind desperation rather than anything else. Um, so
For me, it's been very much the other way. I've been working, and it's like, oh, I'm not used to this working like most days of the week.
Yeah, well, someone's been pretty lucky on that front. And that was, by the way, the first time we actually finished the segment on almost exactly the 10-minute mark. The timer just went off. So since this is a mini-sode, we just thought we would do two other things. One is a random question, which we'll get to. But this just came to my mind because I was talking to my brother about this the other day. And I just thought, we're both curries. We both have brown parents, so there must be paranoid parent stories, like things that would seem utterly ridiculous, but you kind of go, yeah, my parents would do that, and these are ones that they've done. And considering our parents are kind of friends, I want to see on what level of paranoia do they match. You want to go first, or do you want me?
All right. Well, I feel like mine's ones. I think like possibly maybe other parents may be paranoid as well about this one. But before, when I used to have my 180SX, it's like going
for people who are.
It's a Nissan 180SX. Great car. It's one of the old Japanese turbocharged cars. When people talk about, hey, what is this noisy car? Why is it making so much noise? It's one of those cars.
Yes, Chandra.
They go really, really fast, very, very cheap.
Chandra used to be one of those anime writers, Initial D, one of these.
Yeah, I watched too much anime and I was like, man, so good. But basically, on the triangle of cars where you can have cheap, fast, and reliable, this was in the cheap and fast, definitely not reliable category.
So why'd you sell it to your sister?
Because it's cheap and fast. So it's the sort of car which puts a big smile on your face as soon as you sit in it.
Yeah.
And so I used to go to Winton Raceway and Calder Freeway at drift racing events. And so it was heaps of fun and I really wanted to go. But basically, initially when I was first getting into it, parents were a bit reticent about it, understandably. But they came to an interesting compromise, which was that basically my dad came along with me to the racetrack. So he would come.
In the car?
No, not allowed in the car because you could only have one person.
Yeah, fair enough.
Insisted on coming along to every single one of those. I was like, it's fine. But no.
Why?
No, because that way, if I crashed, then he could go get me out of the car. That would make sense. Or probably more importantly, he could call my mum and let her know.
Just for context,
that afterwards, everything's okay.
Chandra's dad's a psychiatrist.
But so on the one hand, I feel like pretty lucky that they were like, all right, sure, go for it. But yeah, I feel like it was a reasonable compromise in retrospect.
But like during these events, I've never been. I assume that it's like a fire crew or anything, or is it?
Yeah, it's professionally run events. So, there's actual fire crews, there's pit crew, like people available to help you, etc. And
your dad would have gotten you out of the car.
Yeah, like being there or not, does it make a difference? Well, questionable, but it was kind of nice to have some company as well between laps.
Having done retrieval, there's nothing we can do unless you have those big, like metal munching things. Like I've used it a couple of times just on the demo thing. Yeah, there's no and this is the thing, right? You get these giant clippers that basically saw a car in half. You just slice it, right? That's not the hard part. The hard part is knowing in which car where to cut, because otherwise you'll cut into the expansion canisters of the airbags and it will explode in your face. So
that seems like a bad thing to happen.
Yeah. So in trucks, it's in a weird spot as compared to cars. Like, in the A pillar, B pillar sections. In some cars now, it's in the A pillar. So you can't cut straight in the middle. You have to cut where the window edges are.
Well, the good thing is these are old cars. They don't have airbags. So it's fine.
Yeah, but they didn't have electrical circuits. So it's like you actually need to kind of like the fire team knows where to cut. So they will go the fast and dirty and dangerous route if you think someone's about to die, but they kind of go, yeah, let's just put all our shielding on and go. But if you give them time, they'll actually look it up so they know where the cut patterns are.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, that was not a problem, and I haven't been to the track for a little while. I don't think I'll be going the Model 3. That doesn't drift very well.
Yeah, you didn't get the performance.
No.
You didn't have track mode.
I can't turn off front wheels.
Yeah, all right. Well, on mine, have I shown you track mode?
No, I haven't tried it on.
Yeah, so you basically toggle a switch and it comes up with an additional display panel, and you basically get to torque vector everything you want. Like it's literally a dashboard where you get to, and it even turns on like if you go into that mode, it'll record everything on screen, including your G forces.
That's pretty cool.
So anyway, so yeah, maybe you should pay an upgrade. Who knows?
No, must resist the urge.
Well, I mean,
it's a temporary car. It's a temporary car.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, temporary until you get the performance. I think your one sounds not paranoid. That was like sensible parenting.
So, what about you? What is your paranoid story?
Okay, so this came up with my brother the other day because he was staying here in the few days between lockdown. So years and years ago, I used to work for a pathology collecting company. So I used to drive around and collect blood. And I think it was at the end of the day, and I'd just take my parents shopping. And so we used to live in a suburban house, driveway, yada, yada, yada. But backing out was always a bit difficult just because the fence was really close and I had a very terrible car with broken mirrors. So I never used to like reversing out. So I parked just on the street, right? And I was literally ducking in to drop off the shopping and change into my work uniform and head out the door, right? Like, so for context, I was literally going in for 5 minutes. My bedroom looks onto where the car is, right? And as I shut the doors and locked it, Dad goes, "You should take your staff ID out of the car." I'm like, "No, I'm going to forget it. And then I'm going to stuck outside the hospital. Like, that's a terrible idea." He's like, "No, you really should." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "Don't you get it?" I'm like, clearly not. What don't I get? It's like, look, someone's going to come. They're going to break into your car. Like, yeah. They're going to steal your ID. Like, okay. Like, we can see the car. It's like, yeah. But then they'll go commit a crime and they'll leave it there and frame you.
Wait, did they? This is my question.
Oh, I mean, I did just live in Noble Park. But I was just like,
that seems like a reasonable thing to consider.
But it was literally maybe 5 minutes where you can see the car the entire time. The thing wasn't they're going to come steal your car. No. They're going to break into your car. Leave your car. The valuable thing here is your ID, so they can then commit their master plan crime. And they just happen to have wanted to find an ID, and they would happen to be walking through a suburban street.
Well, it's a medical ID. Who would suspect?
Yeah, so that's the level of paranoia that my parents run on.
Fair enough.
So
I feel less paranoid. I feel like there's maybe less paranoia on this side.
Don't worry. The more my parents hang out with yours, they'll
I'm sure it will spread.
So, do you guys have any paranoid stories from parents? Because I'm pretty sure there's other brown, Asian, and other ethnicities that have paranoid parents here.
Please let us know.
Yeah, voice story. Like, you don't want to type this out. We really want a voice mail.
Like a long thing.
Huh? Well,
we'll eventually.
I think this would be one of those ones where getting a voicemail.
It would be a great voice story.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear.
Would actually be legitimately far better than like trying to read an email out.
Well, shall we move on?
Yeah. Oh my God, we beat it by a minute. We had an extra minute to go, but that's okay.
Well.
Let me read
So
that.
there's a lot of things that give a big satisfaction, like a Tesla. But what about the little things? What are some of the small things that are disproportionately satisfying for you, Raffy?
Yeah, so this, I came up with this question just because the other day, we're both doctors and we've kind of hit the final stages where we're consultants, right? So it's like financially we're fairly well off and can't complain, yada yada yada. The other day, just years ago, like the writing platform Medium came up, right? Like it's just basically it's like blogging software, but it's integrated. It's like a, you can, it's got some social elements where if you write something good, it gets shared, da 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 da. And I've always felt like, and their writing interface is really nice. It has hardly any inputs that you can change. It's like you get this font or this font, you can make it bold, and that's about it, right? Right. It's really dedicated to just cutting it down to write. So everything about it felt professional. Like you needed to be of a certain skill to write a Medium article, even though literally you can sign up and anyone can write on Medium, right? Like there's
But it always looks nice.
It always looks nice, and the way it's designed makes it feel like you're a professional writer, right? So I've always wanted, and to the point where I was genuinely afraid of writing something, like even though there is no barrier to entry, just the way it's set up felt like there was this internal, like I built this thing up to be something, right? Anyway, I literally was like, all right, it's been on my list for a while. I'm just going to do it. And I wrote like just a listicle. Like it was like 7 quotes that's helped me get through the pandemic or something, right? It was something, it was just like, a few Marcus Aurelius quotes, a few from like Derek Sivers. It's just,
I think I saw this on your newsletter.
Yeah. It was, I think I linked it on the Sunday Surprise.
Shameless plug too. A newsletter you should sign up to.
It's actually going to come out tomorrow. Actually, this will be, so I challenged myself from a couple of months ago to do one new creative thing. Like I have to produce a piece of content, like big-ish, not just like an Instagram post per week. I've been on track. So this podcast will be the one for this week. Anyway, so I wrote it for one of the other weeks where I was running a bit dry on taking and editing photos and stuff like that. And it earned 1 cent.
Right? That's more than 0 cents.
Yeah, it's A, more than 0 cents. B, I didn't even know there was like an earning mechanism thing, right? And I was overjoyed. I was like genuinely like, holy moly. I think I even screenshotted and shared in the last newsletter because it was like, it was something about the fact that I don't think I'm a good writer. I don't think I'm like worse than a newbie. I've not tried to write in many, many years, like ever since high school, except for like assignments and like fictional, like as in, things where you're given a brief, you have to meet the brief, right? They're pretty easy because you basically given the guidelines, you just do that thing, right? Where this is unstructured, you come up with your own structure. Like, isn't this obviously you got to have intros and grammar and all that, but the content doesn't have a style that you have to adhere to. You can make it whatever you want. So this is like full on like photography or anything other creative. You literally get unlimited reign, make something, right? And there is a pleasure in making something, but not that I've always wanted. Well, actually, no, it's not true. I have always wanted to monetize my hobbies, not because I think it should sell, but it's the easiest way of showing that someone values your work or it's had an impact. Like for someone to actually shell out cash or whatever, So that 1 cent.
I guess it's the concept of like even like the Patreon platforms and things like that.
Yeah,
that sort of makes sense too. But I can see how any amount is like, hey, it's like a little dig.
Yeah, and that 1 cent had probably more of a disproportionate impact than what my fortnightly payslip shows. Even though like the difference between that is probably what 1,000
more than 1 cent.
So that was like the most striking recent example, and I wonder if you had one. And my other one is my morning coffee. Like I will happily go out and pay 500% time the cost price of brewing my own coffee because I just like the ritual of going down, having a chat to the barista, and the fact that there's 3 cafes that I go to, but as I walk up, they know what I'm going to order. That little bit of like it's like that nod, that knowing nod. It's like, you're a regular, and there's something nice about starting your day. It's part of that sort of, and then I go down and then I get my coffee and then I go to work. And that also is like disproportionately, because every single budgeting book's always like cut out the lattes. I'm like, nah, it's like the best part of my day.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah,
I definitely found that. Yeah, I like to have a little morning routine like that as well. And when I was in Melbourne, it was that thing of, yeah, sure, like lockdown, or even when it wasn't lockdown, but because not really employed / working, then you've got the whole day as this amorphous blob of time. There's just something nice in the morning. The routine was go down to my usual coffee shop, sit down, same chair, same spot, same everything, sit down, they bring over my usual coffee. And there's just something nice about the fact that, yeah, sure, you've got all this time in the world and you can do whatever you want, but you can also just choose to go down and get your regular coffee and start the day as a normal thing. And even now, I found at this place that I'm staying at the moment, I've got like a great view of the beach, but just like about 500 meters down the street along the beach here, there's a coffee truck that pulls up and they do just coffees by the beach. And it's just something nice, like once there, a few times in a week, I'll just swing past there, stop by, grab my coffee, and then just sit on the table there. And it's got a nice view over the beach. It's a bit cold at the moment, but still it's that nice, cold, sunny. Just taking 10 minutes there before heading into work is really nice.
Is Perth allowed to?
Well, I know, Western Australia. So what are you doing?
Did you say that's your top disproportionate satisfaction thing?
Well, actually, I would say probably one of the things which I feel like it's a bad habit in a sense as well, but I get immense satisfaction from finishing off my urgent tasks on my to-do list. Because I have like a few recurrent tasks which are like, flagged, urgent, etc. that come up or to be done that day. So some of them, might be just checking my email or doing my daily gratitude journal or meditating or whatever it is. But
they flag as urgent.
They're quite important. So they're in that important urgent, like as in to do that day. So I've tried to set those as priorities. But doing those things and having that little category as empty, it's just something so nice about that. It's like a little dopamine hit of, the super important urgent stuff is out of the way. I can now pick and choose whatever I feel like doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like today, like, as I was going off, I was just crossing off the patients off the theater list as we went down, and it's like a countdown, it's almost home time, Or I suppose the closest is like, when you're in primary school and you're kind of like, it's a day you don't want to be there. You're like waiting for 3 o'clock to come around so you can like run out the door.
Interesting though, in theater I found the opposite, where I don't actually know which case we're at.
Yeah, it depends on how. So like, for example, today, so the subtle things of being an anesthetist is like running the theater list efficiently if you want to get out on time. So there's little, like, I'm sure every so often you get someone like, hey, can we do this case in between the other ones? And you go, sure, whatever, right? But like, for example, there was this case that I was not booked as a general anesthetic, it was just for sedation, but they wanted a general anesthetic. And it changes which table, which like the orientation of the room. So everything has to be unplugged and reorientated. So we did one of the cases, this one case, then we have to go back to the original orientation. So it just adds like half an hour of change every time. Whereas the last two cases, like if we shifted this just by about an hour, we would have had this nice long run, one change, and then finish. And for on the theater team, it's better because the next day they could have just left the thing. So everyone would have won, but we just didn't know. So we actually went the inefficient route of changing and then changing back and then going again. And so like literally as a result of that, I finished at 4 o'clock instead of like 2:30, 2:45. But these little things are why, like from an anesthetic point of view, it's very important to kind of have a look at the list, look at the run order and see what the cases are and go, yeah, now we're going to switch this and this around. Or occasionally you get like a patient-centered one where it's like there's a diabetic that's right last on the list. Like, man, they're going to be either hypoing or intensive care if we leave them that long. We could actually pull them up forward and these other ones can move down. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the I lists, we go for more consistency. So even though there's some variation within the case itself, I think the nicest thing is it's just you do the case, you write your notes, and then you start washing your hands. And then you do the case, and then you write your hands, and then you wash your hands.
Actually,
and you just keep going around and round and round. And there's just something nice about that you can kind of fully get into the zone, and then you lose track of where you're at with it.
Well, like one of the guys that I do eyes with will also stack all the rights, then all the lefts.
Yeah, they almost had a list of entire rights, except there was one left at the end of the day. And we're like, what happened?
But yeah, it's those little tweaks, because even say for like doing the blocks for the I lists, if you have all rights, then you can just set up the table. So when you scrub, you go and pick up your stuff. It's exactly in the same spot, it's done. And you don't have to worry about like, because you always have to get the patient to look somewhere, right? So it's like, it's the same spot. You just point to the same spot. And then when you go to the other side, you're like, yes, I'm in the other eye because I have to go to the other spot. It's like a little additional safety thing. Anyway, what is your disproportionate satisfaction thing? Again, leave us a voice message. We're not
Let us know.
like voice messages. That's it for this episode. It's meant to be a mini-sode, and it's Dota time, so we've got to go because people have started playing. I've seen the notifications everywhere. Also, if you play Dota, come join us. It's be happening every Friday and Saturday. It looks like.
It started happening because of lockdowns. It has not stopped.
Well,
we'll take lockdown in any country of the world.
To be fair, Victoria's still in lockdown.
This is like it's always drinks o'clock somewhere in the world.
Somewhere's locked down. So we'll play Dota. Until next week. No, not next week. In 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then. In the meantime, like, subscribe. Supposedly commenting on like the Apple podcasts and stuff.
Leave us a review and things.
Review. That's the word.
Thank you.
And also any feedback. So it's podcast@photosbyraffy.com. We are now approaching, we're episode 13. When did we say episode 20 or something that we're going to do main?
I think 20. Yep.
All right. So leave us some feedback and then we'll actually get a proper email address and stuff.
We must be conservative till then. We can do it.
Yeah. All right. Until then, bye-byes.
See yous. Bye.
All right. Recording. Before we start, anything you want to discuss?
Yeah. Okay, wait, hang on.
I'm a mouse. Wait, now
it's recording again.
I'm a But I can I can raise hand. Oh, I'm a brown hand.
It's a very racially sensitive hand.